because you want freedom and you want to make a ton of money, you're not going to make a ton of money. Let's have some difference between you and the books. What have you created? All right. Hey, how are you not normals doing out there? Got a fire episode today, one that I am really passionate about, and it's really kind of part of the backbone of what we do at Not Normal. So I'm really excited to get into it. We've talked a lot about if you don't read, you're no better than if you can't read.
Yeah.
Right? You're just voluntarily ignorant. So let's start with this really good video, which has a great metaphor for this concept of an army. So let's get into it. Share the screen here.
I was in my early 20s. Encyclopedia of Magic, and I was $500,000 in debt because of one mistake. And I remember sitting in my garage, feeling quite depressed with myself. And my dad comes over, and he goes, "Do you know why you failed? You failed because you have no soldiers in your army." Every single time you read a book, son, the author of that book stands behind you in an army who's willing to fight for any battle you call him or her to fight for. How many books have you read about online business? Because you're losing all the battles because the battles you fight right now require an army of at least 100, and you've got 3. So don't confuse your lack of ability and lack of an army as a lack of capability. It's not that you can't do it, you just don't know how. I started buying books, started reading like crazy. How have I achieved success, or whatever you want to call it? I've got a big army.
It's a dope analogy. I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. So with that in mind, I thought we would go through a couple of the soldiers in my army and just pick out some of the great lessons that are there. And there's so many, like we can only, I don't think we even get through half of the ones I have prepared for today. So yeah, let's get into it. If you're trying to do something you've never done before, you either have to learn the hard way, which that guy was describing,
Yeah.
or learn how it's done and then try to do it and practice practice with at least the right moves, even though you're awkward and not doing it right exactly, but you're at least doing the right moves and you're getting better and doing the right things. So the first one I thought we should talk about was from Confucius. Confucius was from about 500 BC, if I got my dates right. One of his students asked him, what is the nobler type of man? He's asking about the noble type of man. And the master, Confucius, said, he first practices what he preaches, and afterwards preaches according to his practice. Totally different thought. The master said, learning without thinking is useless. I would just call it like memorization.
Yeah.
And thinking without learning is dangerous.
These are good one-liners.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
you don't have to go very far.
No. First chapter.
Yeah. I mean, you see how short these guys are? Right here, just one-liners.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Confucius is not a story. It's just literally one-liners.
I didn't know that.
The Analects of Confucius. Yeah, it's not continuous. Why is that dangerous to think without learning? I just want to touch on that one. Get the next one ready.
Because you'll act in a harmful way, is my assumption.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking without the right information, so it's impossible to come to a correct conclusion. So you need to be learned to be able to think properly. We talk about this all the time. Like, you have to have a good vocabulary to be able to think clearly. We talked about this before. Like, if you're trying to
you need to think clearly in order to act
properly.
Decisively.
Yeah. Okay, next one from Seneca. All right.
Good book.
It's a Roman philosopher about 4 BC to I think 60 AD. And man, he's one of my favorites. I spent a lot of time with Seneca. This one is about kind of beginning to learn and transitioning to teaching. He describes this process, so it's a little bit long. I'll try to hit the high points. This one is actually paragraph form. He talks about in the beginning, the Greeks give their children this chryia, C-H-R-I-A-E, and they're kind of like proverbs. So they give them these proverbs to learn by heart, because the child's mind being unable to take these things at a stage when anything else will be beyond its capacity. And we talked about this like 2 episodes ago, right? Like, you're obedient to rules when you're young, because the loving parents are trying to teach you these proverbs.
Ideally.
But continuing, in the case of a grown man who has made incontestable progress, it is disgraceful to go hunting after gems of wisdom and prop himself up with the minute number of the best known sayings. He's just regurgitating the best line.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's dependent on his memory as well. It is time he was standing on his own feet. He should be delivering himself of such aims, not memorizing them. It is disgraceful that a man who is old or in sight of old age should have a wisdom derived solely from his notebook. Dude, so good. Okay. Another philosopher, Zeno, said this: "What have you said?" Meaning of your own.
Yeah.
Cleanthes said this: "What have you said? How much longer are you going to serve under others' orders? Assume authority for yourself and utter something that may be handed down to posterity. Produce something of your own resources." It was admonition to grow up and absorb all this, but then at some point you have to synthesize it and produce it as your own. This one is
Cool.
one of my favorites, and he continues on. I'll give you the one-liner that is my kind of rings in my head all the time. "This is why I look on people like this as a spiritless lot, the people who are forever acting as interpreters and never as creators, always lurking in someone else's shadow. They never venture to do for themselves things they have spent such a long time learning."
You definitely see that a lot. And it's funny that they also saw that in 30 AD.
Yeah. Yep. And this one is that kind of sums it up for me when I read this the first time. He's quoting Zeno and Cleanthes again. And they said, "Let's have some difference between you and the books. How much longer are you going to be a pupil?" So there's more, but let's leave it there. So that one is a little bit different than the video we watched, which said you need to learn all these things, right? And then Confucius said you need to learn these things and then practice what you learn.
Yeah. And this is the third
Seneca
step.
is like going to the next level of saying, yes, you should learn all those things.
And practice them.
Then it needs to become yours and you need to produce your own work.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, so that's just 3 snippets. All right, changing subjects in a massive way. I want to just share the power of having soldiers in your army. So you can see the power of the 3 soldiers I just read.
You can, yeah.
Okay, 2, Seneca and Confucius so far.
Well, you're in the video, yeah, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, but he was just describing the army. But that in itself is wisdom, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have 3 people in your army and you need at least 100.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That might be one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. Okay, this one is from one of my, I'll say this every time I introduce a book, one of my favorites. This one is from The Law by Frederick Bastiat. He's a French philosopher, 1850 or so, I think this was published. And his essay was about the law and his concern about how it was being used. Remember, we have the American Revolution and the French Revolution just before this. Laws are new at this time, like 1776. I mean, we're within 50, 60 years of these laws being created.
Okay.
Constitution and state laws that get created. Okay, this is the power of having an army. And you hear all these people talking about democracy and we should make this law and do that law. All sounds great, but let this sink in, okay? This is a little summary here. Bastiat believed that all human beings possess the God-given natural rights of individuality, liberty, and property. This is man, he says. These 3 gifts come from God and they precede all human legislation. Most people think that the government gives us those things.
This is a good insight.
This was from 1850, all right? So going on, in the 1840s he was writing, and he was very concerned about how this was developing. He was concerned how the law had been perverted into an instrument of what he called legal plunder. Far from protecting individual rights, the law is increasingly used to deprive one group of citizens of those rights for the benefit of another group, and especially for the benefit of the state itself. So almost every time he's using the law, he's interpreting this as legal plunder.
It's a good term.
Because you already have individuality, liberty, and property.
Yeah.
So anything the state is doing is taking one of those things from you. Okay, continuing on. I just have to hit the high points, okay? His warnings are concerned about the dire effects of legal plunder, and they're as relevant today as they were then. The system of legal plunder, which many now celebrate as democracy, will erase from everyone's conscience, he wrote, the distinction between justice and injustice. The plundered classes will eventually figure out how to enter the political game and plunder their fellow man. Legislation will never be guided by any principles of justice, but only by brute political force.
Which you see, yeah.
Yeah. Listen to this. He's talking about education. He was even, so he's a champion of liberty and also forecast the corruption of the education by the state. Those who held government-endowed teaching positions, he wrote, would rarely criticize legal plunder, lest their government endowments be ended. This is 1840.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. And the system of legal plunder would also greatly exaggerate the importance of politics in society. Let me just end with one idea here. Okay, 2 paragraphs. I'm going to have to read it word for word. This is from Bastat. Socialists play God, Bastiat observed, anticipating all future tyrants and despots of the world who would try to remake the world in their image, whether that image would be communism, fascism, the glorious union, or global democracy. Bastiat also observed that socialists wanted to forced conformity, rigid regimentation of the population through pervasive regulation, forced equality of wealth, and dictatorship. As such, they were the mortal enemies of liberty. Those 4 things were literally spelled out in the video we shared yesterday.
The sustainable development goals.
Yes, they are literally asking for forced conformity, rigid regimentation of population through regulation, forced equality of wealth, and dictatorship. And listen to this. Dictatorship need not involve an actual dictator. This is kind of summing it up. All that was needed, said Bastiat, was the laws enacted by a Congress or a parliament that would achieve the same effect, forced conformity.
Pretty good. Mic drop moment from 1840.
1840. Yep. So good. All right. So I got 2 more that I want to go through, but let's just pause right there. What are you hearing? What are you thinking?
I mean, it's crazy how it's the same topics then that go on now, you know?
Exactly the same.
200 years later, it's not changed.
Yeah. With Seneca, 2,000 years later.
Yeah. It's the same subject matter and the same issues and same legal plunder.
Yeah. So why? I mean, the question is, why try to figure it out yourself? This has been figured out 2,000 years ago. Build your army. Read every week. Read every day. Should we go 2 more?
Yeah.
All right. This one is from Marcus Aurelius, Roman Emperor, 160 to 180 AD, if I have my dates right. He starts his meditations, at least is how it's arranged in this publication, mentioning people in his life that he appreciates and what they've done for him. And this one is just hits the nail on the head for me. 1 paragraph, okay?
Okay.
He talks about from his grandfather, his mother, his tutor. This one is about his great-grandfather. From my great-grandfather, I learned or took not to have attended schools for the public, but to have had good teachers at home and to realize that this is the sort of thing on which one should spend lavishly.
It's a pretty, that's a lost idea, I think. Maybe it's coming back now, but...
Well, I mean, it's coming back, but his great-grandfather somehow influenced him to not have attended public schools.
Yeah.
But it had great teachers at home, and it's worth the investment.
It's so phenomenal. It's the exact same scenario today.
Yeah. All right. That one was fantastic. So anyone considering homeschooling or other alternative where you're getting away from public and focusing on high value people, skills, mentors, apprenticeships, that's worth it.
Just listen to Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last one is a modern day philosopher in a way on wealth and business. I really like it. Naval Ravikant, and he has this famous tweet storm of like 30. I don't think we'll get through all of them today. And so thinking about these 4 soldiers that we've read about already, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Confucius, and Bastiat, this one is less philosophical, but more like high-powered thinking about business.
Yeah. Okay.
So you could like say, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to go create an ice cream shop. You know, you have
Easy.
great intentions because you want freedom and you want to make a ton of money. You're not going to make a ton of money.
No. Probably going to go bankrupt.
Yeah. So this one is formatted. The book here is nice. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Worth it.
Okay.
It just captures his thoughts and kind of a little bit of a commentary on it. And this is just literally the tweet storm. It's almost like Confucius. Boom, boom, boom. But it's sequential. So let's stop here anytime that something strikes you, okay?
All right.
Seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy.
Right off the bat, those distinctions are very crucial.
Yeah.
And I bet most people wouldn't be able to come up with those definitions.
No, that was number 1. Number 2, understand ethical wealth creation is possible. If you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you.
That's a disease that infects many people.
Absolutely. Or if you believe that wealth will destroy your values or something,
Corrupt you, and yeah,
corrupt you, that'll be impossible to get wealthy
you wouldn't, yeah.
because you don't want that. Okay. Ignore people playing status games. They gain status by attacking people playing wealth creation games.
That's good.
You see people like kind of cloud chasers, like they start beef with people just to get
Yeah, okay.
just to get
I was trying to think of somebody in that scenario, yeah.
dude, they're all over the place. They're the worst of the worst.
That's a good way to say it, yeah.
Yeah.
Or real estate agents, personal gripe. They're flexing houses they don't own.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Kind of a joke, but not really.
Okay. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business, for example, to gain your financial freedom.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty evident when you look at people who have achieved that.
Yeah, but it's not a common way to view the world. The entire
Sure.
college system is built for you to get a job, a high-paying job.
Yeah.
So this is, definitely a stepping out of the norm over here into like a different way.
Yeah.
Okay, should we keep going? There's like 4 or 5 pages. We'll just maybe do another page because these are all just like you could spend a whole episode on each one of these things.
Yeah, let's keep going.
You will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not yet know how to get it at scale.
That's okay. So, like, what does that look like? That's like being
The one I think of is nobody knew they wanted an iPhone without buttons.
okay. That's a great
Nobody
example.
could describe that.
Yeah.
But the iPhone without
But-
buttons and the App Store and 1,000 songs in your pocket.
Nobody would have even
No.
conceptualized.
Now, I mean, mine's literally 12 inches from me right here. So, and delivering it at scale.
Which they did.
Yeah.
That illuminates the idea better.
And like, you won't remember this, but Skype was voice over internet calling. Nobody knew you needed that. And that changed the game. You could just call anybody for free anywhere in the world. It was amazing.
It's pretty crazy that it lost market share to Zoom over COVID.
Yeah. Well, it's owned by Microsoft.
That's a different topic.
Microsoft's, whatever. Okay. Pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people.
I like this one a lot. I like the idea of time compounding in your favor. And that's what this is speaking to a little bit.
Long-term games. This could be real estate.
Yeah. Or like equity in business, like they're saying.
Business. Yeah. Could be working with groups of people over time that you just keep compounding your abilities together and resources together.
And a lot of education is kind of a long-term thing too.
100%. Yeah. All right. The internet has massively broadened the possible space of careers. Most people haven't figured this out yet. That's changing last couple of years, I would say. It's still a new idea.
Yeah.
Still a powerful idea. I mean,
Still new doors open because of it.
this is not my preferred route for a career, but like Twitch streamer. Like who would have thought that was possible? And becoming a famous Twitch streamer opens up doors for everything else. Endorsement deals, brand deals, other businesses. Crazy.
Announcing the NFL draft picks.
Dude, I want to do an episode on the NFL draft and like showing these just so stupid. Like the stadiums or like plazas or squares where they're announcing like 700,000 people or something.
Yeah.
So the NFL draft? What is the point? Just so distracting from
Yeah.
important for teams that the players change. So you're just voting for your colors. You're not like I'm voting for I'm following the Jets. I'm a diehard Jets fan, but nothing about the Jets is the same. Just
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. It's ridiculous.
But I don't know. If there's a cycling team draft, you might want to go watch that.
For me, it would be about the riders and following the
Yeah,
riders.
I think that's kind of how it is for the draft. I agree. It's not essential.
All right. All right.
being
I can,
entertaining.
it just seemed like such a Gen Pop thing. Like just like
Well, it is.
such a distraction from all this other stuff going on. Okay, next, play iterated games. All the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest.
Okay. That's similar to the one we were talking about earlier where time compounds.
Right. Yep. Next one. Pick business partners with high intelligence, high energy, and above all, integrity.
That's crucial. Very crucial.
I know lots of stories of folks burned, screwed by partners that were not those things.
Yeah.
Okay, same on that kind of idea. Like, don't partner with cynics and pessimists. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling.
But the opposite is also true, right?
I think so. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Partner with optimists, and what's the opposite of a cynic? Hopeful, maybe? Let's stop here with this one. Let's wrap it up. Learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable.
Yeah. I mean, that leads you to like a company.
Yeah, leading company, which is, essentially a problem-solving machine.
Yeah.
Okay, man, what are you hearing about the Army? Like, dude, 5 super powerful soldiers
Yeah.
right here. And we just scratched the surface of what's in those books.
Yeah, we didn't even go through them.
No, just one idea of each one.
It makes it pretty apparent how crucial that would be, or is,
Yeah.
to have those in your repertoire.
Okay, one thing you have to read, but that presupposes the prerequisite of you can read and your level of comprehension is higher. But if it's not, all the more reason to read this level of book, or these older ones especially, because that will help your vocabulary and your comprehension.
Yeah, it definitely, I can attest.
Yeah, so yeah, this is one I'm really passionate about. I really like it, and I think it's super powerful. Like, so much of school, you're learning things, but you're not really thinking. You're not gaining soldiers in your army.
Yeah, you're sort of going over facts, but you're not going to the next level of incorporating those into a new field.
So once you get through these books, all you not normals out there, let's have some difference between you and the books. What have you created? What have you said is how Cleanthes said it. All right, so see you guys in the next episode. Walker, thanks for participating. That was a great episode.
Thanks for bringing these out. Those are good. I need to revisit some of those books.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys on the inside and on the next episode.